All right, viewers, this is a Super India Today exclusive. A military turf war has erupted, and it all came down to two exclusive interviews right here on India Today.
Air Force is required to provide support to the ground forces. Do not forget that Air Force continues to remain a supporting arm.
It is not a supporting role alone. The air power has a huge role to play in any of the integrated battle area.
Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat has set the cat among pigeons.
And therefore, one of the commands...
Speaking exclusively to India Today on the setting up of theatre commands and the Indian Air Force reservations, General Rawat said Indian Air Force is required to provide air support to ground forces.
Air Force continues to remain a supporting arm to the armed forces, just as the artillery supports or the engineer support the combatant arms in the army.
Okay.
They will be a supporting arm, but they have a charter. They have an air defense charter and supporting the ground forces in times of operations.
Air Chief Marshal R.K. Bhadoria, Chief of Air Staff, disagreed with the Chief of Defence Staff on IAF being like a support arm of the army.
It's not an issue of support alone, and there is a whole lot of things that go into any airplane that is made, and those are the issues that is under discussion.
The Indian Air Force insists it supports the theatre command, but has strong reservations about splitting up its assets.
We are for establishing of integrated theatre command, but what the issues that we have raised are in our internal discussions, and it is to do with how should we do it. And whenever we have a system which is integrated, we must look at that entire, the doctrine and the abilities of the services must be brought in.
However, General Rawat countered the argument, saying assets of the Indian Air Force were split among various air commands even now. The government is moving forward with the setting up of theatre commands, but battle lines clearly remain drawn even internally, and the process remains fraught with challenges. With Shivarur in Delhi, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Meanwhile, viewers, as the drone threat nightmare gets bigger for India and very real for India, we get you two very exclusive military voices talking about the threat. India's top military voices decode the nation's latest security challenge. Speaking exclusively to India Today, Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat said there is a need to support boots on ground with technology, as India is aware of adversaries using drones. Meanwhile, Indian Air Force Chief R.K. Bhadoria called that drone attack an act of terror and said that the Indian Air Force is working on a quick drone detection technique.
India's national security landscape being stressed, if not irretrievably perilous. Can you explain that, sir? Because is our next big threat on our eastern and northern borders, or our western borders, or what we saw at the Jammu Air Base, this grey zone warfare?
Yes, I think we are seeing the character of war is now changing. You know, weaker nations will always attempt to fight you through grey zone warfare. Why should a person confront you through battle of attrition? In fact, battle of attrition, even stronger nations are now avoiding. The tendency is to go in for grey zone warfare through non-contact warfare. And I think we have to be prepared for that. And therefore, I think our armed forces need to be reorganized in structures to ensure that we fight the next war through technological developments in the armed forces. We've got to have boots on ground, but I think these need to be supported by technological advancements that are taking place. And it is not necessary now to guard the entire frontier with boots on ground when you can do the same thing through technology. I would like to give an example for let us say, today you have a frontage that our infantry battalion is required to hold is about 10 to 12 kilometers. Now, this was a thing which has been going on for a number of years. Our infantry battalion controls our space, land space on the border 10 to 12 kilometers. That was a time when the weapon ranges, the surveillance systems available to the battalion was lesser. Today you find that rifles can engage at 500 meters. You got surveillance systems which can look beyond up to a distance of 5 to 7 kilometers. So therefore, if this is happening, if these kind of weapon systems are coming in, surely the gap between subunits can increase. And the same infantry battalion, with the lethality of its weapons, with better surveillance capability available, can therefore now hold ground for 18 kilometers. Therefore, where you have 3 battalions deployed, you can do it too. And with the saving in manpower that you do, you create more reserves and use the savings in manpower for bringing in technology. Now you develop and deploy technology along with that. So I think a complete paradigm shift needs to be brought in the way in which we are going to fight future wars. Future wars may not necessarily be battles of attrition being fought on the front line. You may well find depth areas getting engaged first before the adversary actually contacts you on the front line.
This particular base did not have a critical assets, and we did not have that system fielded here. As far as other methods at such bases are concerned, whenever a drone which is not expected or which is not ours, and it comes into the boundary, there are processes and SOPs in place in terms of addressing it. But this happened that on a night there was no visibility, and it happened from a direction where from the airfield to the perimeter to the target they chose was just about 450 meters. So these are the ground realities. But in terms of our ability to counter such, it's already some ability or has already come, and much more is coming. In fact, another month from now, our deliveries will start for another such system from indigenous sources. And I will not go into the detail, but a lot of work has gone behind it. In terms of hard kill operation options, it is a little more tricky issue.
Okay.
We have worked extensively with DRDO. They have a nearly functional system. It's under trial. Some improvements need to be done in order to achieve the kind of distances we need to effectively target such activities. And that it's just a matter of time before we finish the trials and put it into production.
Okay.
So that element will also come in.
All right, viewers, the state of Punjab is reeling through an unprecedented power crisis. It's also a time where the state of Punjab is extremely tumultuous, where politics comes into question. Now, the latest is that the Akali Dal workers and leaders staged a protest in different locations of Punjab, including Amritsar, Mohali, Ropar. Protesters raised slogans against the Chief Minister Amrinder Singh and accused the state government of leaving the people of the state to suffer even as temperatures soar. In Amritsar, Akali Dal along with BSP workers gherawed the power station to protest against long power cuts. Punjab BJP also staged a protest against the Congress government in the state, holding demonstrations in Ludhiana. Well, this is a setback for the Mamata Banerjee government. The Calcutta High Court has wrapped the Mamata government over post-poll violence in the state.
Murders, rapes, arson, vandalism, and assault on political rivals. The Calcutta High Court has stepped in as the list of charges against the Trinamool Congress government gets longer. The court has ordered the police to register all cases of post-poll violence based on recommendations of the National Human Rights Commission. Hearing petition alleging attacks on opposition workers right after the TMC came to power, the court directed the Bengal government to ensure ration for the victims even if they do not have a ration card. The court also asked for a second post-mortem of BJP worker Avjit Sarkar, who was allegedly killed by a mob soon after the election results. Lashing out at the district magistrate and superintendent of police of Jadavpur for inaction, the High Court issued a show-cause notice asking why contempt proceedings should not be initiated against them. The Chief Secretary of Bengal has been ordered to preserve all documents relating to post-poll violence. The BJP has welcomed the High Court orders.
The Honorable High Court today has addressed all the issues. They have said that the police needs to record the statement of each and every individual on the complaints which have been filed by them, whether it has been filed to the police or to the NHRC or to the West Bengal State Legal Services Authorities. All the complaints needs to be addressed, and the statement of the victims under 164 CRPC needs to be registered, and police has to ensure the same.
For the Trinamool Congress, the court action is an embarrassment. The post-poll violence in Bengal continues to haunt the Mamata government. The rap from the High Court is adding insult to injury.
Now, war of words has broken down between the Trinamool and the BJP over this particular issue, wherein the BJP has welcomed the order but stated that they do not trust the investigation of the West Bengal police, and the case needs to be taken outside. FIRs need to be taken outside the state for safety of these victims. The Trinamool has stated that they will obey this particular order, but the BJP is dragging the post-poll violence cases a bit too much. With camera person Prabir Biswad, this is Suryagni Roy for India Today, Kolkata.
All right, viewers, stunning revelations coming in on the Tabrez Rana attack case. Tabrez Rana is the son of a famous poet, Rana. He apparently staged an attack on himself to escape from a property dispute. Tabrez got exposed after a video of police raids at Munawwar's Lucknow home went viral. The searches were being conducted to trace Tabrez. However, the famous poet claimed that a large number of police personnel appeared at his house without informing him about the reason. After the raid video went viral, Raebareli police revealed that Tabrez had staged a fake attack on himself to avoid a property dispute with his cousin. He wanted to pin the blame of the attack on his cousins. The police recovered CCTV footage of the attack and nabbed 4 accused, including 2 shooters in the case. The main accused, Halim, was constantly in touch with Tabrez, and after getting arrested, he confessed all.
अगर कोई FIR उनके खिलाफ है, हमारे बेटे के खिलाफ, इवन मेरे खिलाफ, तो आप आइए आकर के बोलिए कि भाई आपके खिलाफ FIR है, आप थाने चलिए। और जो लोग इस पर तुले हों कि हमको हर तरह का नुकसान पहुंचाएं, तो उनसे भी तो कड़ी पूछताछ होनी चाहिए थी।
Meanwhile, India is continuing to conquer the space frontier. The latest to go to space is this Indian woman.
A moment of pride for India. This is Sirisha Bandla, and she's heading to space on the 11th of July.
Astronaut 004, Sirisha Bandla. I'll be testing the researcher experience.
Sirisha, seen here posing with Richard Branson, has been handpicked to be part of the 6-member team for the Virgin's galactic space mission. Sirisha was born in Andhra Pradesh's Guntur, and she will be the first Telugu origin person in space and the second Indian-born woman in space after Kalpana Chawla. Sirisha currently works as VP of Government Affairs at Virgin Galactic and is settled in the US with her family.
Astronaut 004, Sirisha Bandla. I'll be testing the researcher experience.
Sirisha joins the league of Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams to become the 3rd Indian origin woman heading to space. Kalpana Chawla was the first woman of Indian origin to go to space, but on her 2nd space voyage on board the Space Shuttle Columbia, Chawla died along with the crew members after an unsuccessful landing back on Earth. Sunita Williams is the 2nd Indian origin woman who made it to space several times, and she formerly also held the record for most spacewalks by a woman in space. Best of luck to Sirisha as she quite literally reaches for the stars with Team Branson.
A quick break. When we return, it's our fact check segment.